Smut and Schmooze, where each week we discuss a book that has piqued our interest. This week we are doing Verity by Colleen Hoover. Um, yeah, do you have the synopsis in front of you? Because I do not.
I do. Okay. So it goes Lowen Ashley is a struggling writer on the brink of financial ruin when she accepts the job offer of a lifetime. Jeremy Crawford, husband of best-selling author Verity Crawford, has hired Lowen to complete the remaining books in a successful series his injured wife is unable to finish. Lowen arrives at the Crawford home ready to sort through years of Verity's notes and outlines, hoping to find enough material to get her started. What Lowen doesn't expect to uncover is the chaotic office. Oh, in the chaotic office is an unfinished autobiography Verity had never intended for anyone to read. Page after page of bone-chilling admissions, including Verity's recollection of the night her family was forever altered. Lowen decides to keep the manuscript hidden from Jeremy, knowing its contents could devastate the already grieving father. But as Lowen's feelings for Jeremy begin to intensify, side-eye, she recognizes all the ways she could benefit if he were to read his wife's words. After all, no matter how devoted Jeremy is to his injured wife, a truth this horrifying would make it impossible for him to continue loving her.
Okay, so I know we were just talking about how we are kind of split on this. So I didn't like it, but Sunny, you did like it, which is a-okay. We were also discussing the fact that, and I've mentioned this before, I think, in this podcast, that I think Colleen Hoover is great for if you're trying to dip your toe into the world of reading. If you're like looking to become a bookworm and you don't know where to start, I think she's a good place to start. I don't know if she's a good place to start for smut. In my opinion, I didn't really like.
The smut was a 5 out of 10 for me. Maybe.
I will circle back to how I feel about this because I have some strong opinions for this book. But I think it's a great place to start if you've never read a thriller, which you said you hadn't.
Mhm.
And I think it's a good first time thriller read. Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you want to start with the points since you liked it, and then I I will also discuss the parts that I didn't like. But let's hear
Yes.
what you did like about it, because I don't want to be a
Okay.
total negative Nancy um, on this book.
Right. I understand completely. Okay. So I liked how the story was not only told through Lowen's point of view, but also Verity's autobiography. And it tells, through her autobiography, you learn a lot about, her family and whatnot and how things ended up as they did, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I just really liked. I wanted more of Verity's autobiography because at one point I was just like, I don't give a fuck about Lowen and
That's fair.
Jeremy and anything
Same.
about that. I just want the tea. Because Verity's autobiography part was honestly the most interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But then, it's just, I just liked it a lot.
That's fair.
I did like the story. I liked the story a lot. And the plot twist did get me because I had never read a suspense novel.
Okay.
I don't know, the plot twist just got me good. I was like, my jaw was like, and I was reading this, I was
Mm-hmm.
listening to it in the Dairy Queen drive-through when I got to
Oh,
the
I love
plot
that.
twist.
God, I love Dairy
It's-
Queen. Ugh.
but yeah, yeah.
Okay, no,
No, I
that's
want to hear your
fair.
thoughts.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it's a great first thriller if you haven't read one. I would really like for you to read The Wife Between Us now because
Hmm.
it's just that but better.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, good introductory. But I will give credit where it's due. I think that's fine. I didn't totally hate the thriller aspect of it. Um, I think I get a little picky because I've read. I was on a huge thriller kick and like mystery kick before I got into romance and
Mm-hmm.
like the fantasy series. I it just felt like a movie I had already watched. I was like, nah, I know where this is going. Like she's definitely not incapacitated. Like she's fucking with everybody. I just know it. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just me. I think I'm a little jaded in that aspect, so I will admit that. So if you're not jaded, I think that part was great. I also liked Verity's point of view because I could not stand Lowen. I thought she was really self-righteous. And
Mm-hmm.
here's why. I have notes while I was reading. So I think Lowen is self-righteous because the part where Verity in her manuscript is discussing how much she hates her kids, Lowen's like, wow, I just can't believe that she just doesn't love her kids. Like it never happened. And I would like to point out she's clearly never heard of postpartum depression.
Mm.
Also, we just skip over the fact that, like, in the manuscript, Jeremy never asked her if she wanted kids. They never discussed it. She did not technically consent to having the kids. He just nutted in her and called it a day. And of
That's true.
course, she doesn't do anything about it. Like, she has the kids because she's, via the manuscript, is so worried about him, like, leaving her or not loving her. Um, and she's just, scared to not have these children.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she never consented to having the kids, nor did they ever discuss it. So, and that can go both ways. Like, if you're not, like, it's a two-party deal. If y'all aren't consenting to having the kids, like, that's a whole different topic. And it's a very gray area, too. But I thought that it was just a little, like, odd to me that I was like, they never talked about having kids. Like, he never asked if that was something that she wanted. But they lacked in communication from it. Their relationship was just sex.
Yeah,
And I felt, and this is probably an unpopular opinion because all I've heard about is that this book is spicy and super smutty.
it's not.
It is gratuitous.
Gratuitous.
It is very gratuitous. When the sex scenes do not add to the story, when they are not enhancing anything, it then becomes gratuitous. And I love a good smutty read, just like the next broad.
Mm-hmm.
I hated this. I don't like sex scenes in this kind of context because to me it makes the sex a little too dark. It feels out of place, like it takes away from the suspense of the book and the story. Like if I'm reading a thriller book, I want the thriller aspect. I'm there for the plot, the story, whatever's going on, the suspense. I don't want the sex scenes in it. It
Mm-hmm.
feels out of place. Whereas in a romance novel, or like in A Court of Thorns and Roses in the third book, where they've got like war going on at the same time, they still have that romantic aspect. Like it's an all-encompassing story. And so,
Mm-hmm.
there are times where it can be done. But when this is just strictly like supposed to be, I think, a thriller novel, and you're throwing in a bunch of sex scenes, to me it felt unnecessary and out of place. Also, I felt like her sex scenes were all the same. It was like this. They were doing the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't
They were.
appreciate that. Had she taken that out, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more because to me it was not adding to the suspense, and I was like, no, you're losing my suspension of disbelief here.
Mm.
Um, I So yeah, but that's off topic as to why I think Lowen is self-righteous. She really likes to shit on Jeremy or shit on Verity and put Jeremy on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
I also didn't like how she lacked a lot of self-confidence and
Yes,
just
she
a
did.
lot. She just lacked a lot. She was like, "Oh, I can't do this story. I'm not a good writer." Bitch, you do this professionally. People pay for your books. I'm confused. Have a
Mm-hmm.
little faith in yourself, just a little. She,
Mm-hmm.
it just, if Lowen's a pick-me girl.
Lowen's a pick-me girl, but
She's a
Verity is
pick-me
also a
bitch.
pick-me girl. They're
Verity
both
is
pick-me.
also a pick-me bitch in a different way, but at least she's a little bit more feisty.
Okay, that's true.
But she is. They both are, and I don't like that. That makes me question Colleen. I'm like, are you a pick-me bitch? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like how Jeremy can just get away with murder, literally.
Yeah, so no, both of them put him on a pedestal.
Yeah, it's very weird.
So,
But
like,
you don't necessarily know that. I mean, obviously, like, Verity didn't put him on as big of a pedestal as the manuscript makes it sound, because the
that's,
manuscript was not real.
mhm.
I think that in the manuscript, I thought it was interesting that Verity only loved one child. I was like, that's
She didn't
petty. I
even love
like
her to begin
that.
with either.
No, she
It's funny.
didn't. No, she had a dream that Harper was going to kill Chasten. And then all of a sudden she was like, no, I like this one. And I was like,
She saw it in a dream.
okay. And then, in the manuscript, she's very, like, adamant that Harper's going to fucking kill Chasten peanuts.
Right.
So I liked that. My notes aren't in order. I said this before we started. I felt like the man getting hit by a car in the very beginning scene and splattering all over Lowen's shirt was just not necessary. That was weird to me. I was like, what? Okay.
Okay, so
That doesn't really, I don't feel like that actually happens a whole lot.
it doesn't. I mean, no.
I was like,
But
what?
when I got to the end of the book, I was like, was that foreshadowing? Or am I not thinking, or am I overthinking?
No.
That wasn't?
I didn't feel like it was. I was like, where did that even... No, foreshadowing No, that wasn't... The example I was going to use is also not foreshadowing. It was just kind of like almost ironic, more just poetic. In how she kills Verity. She suggests to kill Verity in the way that Verity describes trying to kill Harper in her manuscript.
Oh,
the
okay.
first time.
Yeah.
But so I guess that would be irony. No. No, I don't know what that opening scene was supposed to... I don't know. And the chances of them running into each other, Jeremy and Lowen, like, on the street, I was like, that's a little suspicious. What the fuck?
And of course, Jeremy gives her the shirt off his back.
Of course he does, because Jeremy is the saint. Jeremy's
Yeah.
a twat.
Yeah. So I actually didn't give any thought. I didn't even think about it when you said that she didn't actually consent to having the kids.
I
really
had to stew
didn't.
on that while I was at work. I was like, hold on a second, because here we are. Jeremy's just doing no wrong. Explain to me how Jeremy does no wrong this entire book. Okay, I don't like Jeremy because I think he's a little twat. He's very dumb. He's fact very that dumb. Like, you find out that he has already read the manuscript before Lowen hands it to him, and he thinks that it's real. And Mila's, are you coming in here?
Me.
Wow. Okay. But anyway, he has already read it and he thinks it's real because he wasn't listening at the meeting with his wife and her publishers about how her editor or publisher or whatever had suggested she do antagonistic journaling to help her stay in the mindset of, like, writing from the villain's perspective, because that's how she writes her series. Her series is from the villain's perspective. People eat it up. And she was having a hard time. And so they had suggested antagonistic journaling. And you would think just a little common sense from this man, he has none, that he would know, like, oh, I'm married to a professional writer, and writers have a creative process just like most people and artists do. You would think he'd be aware of what his wife's creative processes were, or would have remembered I don't know, something, or at least would have asked when he found the manuscript. He didn't even ask. He just immediately starts choking her.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
At least let her explain, you know?
Well, because also he never read any of her books. Never read
No,
any of
never
Verity's
read it,
books.
and that is a red
Except one.
flag. But he read
Yeah.
Lowen's fucking book. I
Yeah.
Why is okay? Jeremy's getting away with too much, and it's little things. He's very subtle, and I think that's why he gets away with things. But Jeremy's problematic. And his wife even says in that last letter to him that Lowen finds, she is like, I can't believe that you would disregard my actions and think that my words speak louder than my actions. I have always been a good mother and a good wife. She's like, I don't know how you can take this manuscript and immediately believe it to be true and completely disregard my actions over the years. And I was like, yeah, that's okay. He doesn't pay attention to you at all. Like, Jeremy is very self-centered, and yes, he loves his kids, but he loves his kids because he wants them.
Yes.
It's not really about what Verity wants. It's usually just about what Jeremy wants. And she even was like, talking about all the sex scenes in her manuscript, she was like, you know, our sex life wasn't really like that. But, Jeremy's just, God, he's pretty dumb. And that bothered me. I was like, okay. But Lowen's also dumb, so I think they're made for each other.
Lowen is also dumb. Yes.
I didn't like how she ripped up that letter and just flushed it down the toilet.
Okay, so when she was reading that letter, I was like, surely, because like I was okay, she has some common sense. Surely she's going to show this to him, and then she just rips it up and flushes it down the toilet. And Jeremy's like in there, he's like knocking on the door, and she's like, "Are you all right?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just flushing down a fucking letter your dead wife wrote, explaining what, dude." I was like, "Brother, hello." Anyway. I thought at first I was like, when she got the letter out and she was reading it, I was like, oh my God, she's literally gaslighting him in the grave. Like, and then I was like, oh, no, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
She pretended to be a vegetable so that her husband wouldn't kill her. He ends up killing her anyway. It really annoyed me that he not once asked her to explain the manuscript. He put her in a car and tried to kill her. Unsuccessfully, because he sucks.
Unsuccessfully. Which the plot twist that he was driving the car and he did that, I was like, what? That's crazy bananas.
I didn't necessarily put that together. I was like, did she like do it on purpose? But then, no. Then it made sense. I was like, oh no, he's crazy.
Yeah.
I also, when Lowen and Jeremy have sex, I didn't like that she used when she says panties, it feels wrong, and she said it twice, and I didn't like it. I was like, nope, you sound like a child saying that.
Yeah.
She's like, and I
get it.
I took off my panties. I was like, why is it chafing when you say it? Like, stop.
Why is it chafing?
I don't like that. Oh, I would also like to talk about how, like, Lowen and Jeremy have known each other for, like, 2 weeks. And they're just, like, in love. And it makes me think about the fact that I think, hot take here, probably not a hot take, just probably an unpopular opinion. I think that people too often confuse infatuation with love.
Yes. Okay, me too, though. I get it. No, I get it.
I don't think that there is love at first sight. I do not think that you can love somebody after a few days, 2 weeks, a couple months. I think that people are confusing infatuation with love.
And that's Verity and Jeremy's relationship exactly, because they just like locked eyes in a bar and they're like, I'm gonna fuck that person, and then they did.
They just have a bunch of sex, I guess.
Yeah.
According
No,
to the manuscript.
Jeremy even said, one of them said that they didn't even know Verity. Like, he did not know Verity
No,
at
he didn't.
all,
But he
actually.
also didn't care to know her.
That's true. That's
I
true.
would like to point that out. He just wanted some babies, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck his motive was. He really upsets me. Everybody's just infatuated with each other. You don't love somebody until you have smelled their shit. Okay?
Yeah.
We're not. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely takes longer than a couple weeks. I think you're infatuated.
Mm-hmm.
And
With the
a lot of
idea
people
of the
don't know
person.
the difference. Because
Yes.
infatuation is also a very strong feeling.
Yes, it is.
So they're just infatuated, but whatever. He also gets low and pregnant, and I'm like, this man never wraps it before he taps it.
No, he's like, he goes, I don't have a condom. And she goes, I'm not on the pill. And he goes, I'll just pull out. And then he didn't. And then she like tips her hips upwards so she can keep all the juice in there. They know it. That was before they killed Verity, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So also, they're fucking around with his supposedly incapacitated wife in the next room.
Yeah. But
These
not
people
only,
are horrible.
yeah, he's fucking her in their bedroom. Not Verity's bedroom, the bedroom where he once also, on the same bed that Verity left teeth marks on. Hello?
Yeah, and then I can't. That.
Okay, but so there's something I wanted to point out. There's a couple lines I thought were really funny. First of all, I was like, Lowen, don't be a homewrecker. Don't be a
He's
homewrecker.
such a
And I was just
homewrecker.
like, she's such a homewrecker. Okay, anyway. But Verity, when she got pregnant, she tried to abort it. I think it was the twins. And she goes, I will abort this baby so he will cry for me, comfort me, pick me. I was like,
I was like,
he didn't
Meredith?
say all. Yeah.
Choose me. Love me.
I know. I was like, that was so Meredith Grey of you. Like,
I was like, okay, so Colleen Hoover definitely watches a lot of Grey's Anatomy, and here's why.
yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So, also Lowen being self-righteous, and me judging the author because of this statement. There's a part where she is in the kitchen with Crew, and he's playing a little game, and she's like, "What are you playing?" And he's like, "Toy Crashers or Trashers." I don't remember the name. And she's like, "Oh, good." She's like, "At least it's not Grand Theft Auto or Fallout. At least he still has some hope." And I was like, "What are you trying to say?"
Yeah. Hello?
What are you trying to say?
Get off your high horse.
Kids can play video games. I just really wish people would understand that. Like, it's okay if a kid plays a video game. They're not going to pick up the habits that you think that they are.
Right.
You teaching them to play with toy weapons will.
That's right.
But, okay.
But at one point, Crew did have a knife. He did have a knife.
Yeah, boy had a knife more than once.
He had many knives.
So.
Yeah. He just has access to weapons like that.
Yeah, I just don't know who the hell Lowen thinks she is. She's like, oh, at least he's not playing those video games. Well, at least he's also not being a homewrecker, you little turd.
That's true. She needs to stay in her fucking lane.
Like,
fucking Lowen.
God. I have a problem with her. We would get in an absolute scrap if I met her IRL.
Scrap? Yeah, they're going to Tesla it out. There was also something. So when Jeremy pointed out to Verity that she only talks about Chasten, he was getting her ass. And she goes, he was right. I needed him to think he was wrong.
I
had to
that.
stop
No,
the
I liked
audiobook
how
and I
petty she was in her
cackled.
manuscript. I was
Yes,
like, wow,
oh my
she's
God.
diabolical. I love it.
She's so fucking funny. And then there was a part when Lowen was thinking about when she was like daydreaming about Jeremy, you know, sexy scenes, whatever. And she was remembering how him and Verity were together in the manuscript, and she goes, I don't want to think about him with another woman. Bitch, you are the other woman. What are you talking about? Oh my
Hello? He
God.
has a wife.
He has a wife. I
And
was
she's
like,
like, you need to go put her in a home, in a
and I was like,
facility. Take
that
time for
is,
yourself. And I was like, all Jeremy does is take time for himself.
That's literally all he does, yeah.
I can't stand this man.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
But like, also,
he's very
the audacity.
aggressive and just gets away with, which, okay, this was the manuscript, so I don't actually know if he threw the dumplings. So maybe he
Okay,
didn't. I'm curious to
yeah.
know. But he has other aggressive behavior tendencies, so I don't know.
Mm,
I think he's a little monster. I don't like him.
yeah, no creature.
He also strikes me as the type of guy that would be in a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
In the Hallmark Christmas movies, that's Jeremy.
Yeah, 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 that's him.
Yeah, don't like him.
Very
I don't like
accurate.
him at all.
Yeah.
He and Lowen deserve each other. They're terrible, and Verity died, and she didn't deserve that.
She
I was like,
didn't
she was
deserve
literally
that.
doing a journaling exercise, and this man is too stupid to ask her, hey, this manuscript is very concerning. What is this? No,
Mm-hmm.
he's just immediately like, I'm going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
This man is trying to get everyone pregnant. I wrote that down.
Yeah, no. He clearly just needed some
Followed by
babies.
Jeremy as weak as fuck, because he is.
Yeah, he's a weak. Little baby back bitch, perhaps.
Also, if I were Lowen, like, why didn't she take the manuscript to the cops? But also, I'm glad she didn't, because it, of course, was just an exercise.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
the way she does things, like, she's just reading this manuscript and hiding it from Jeremy, and I was like, I don't think that's any of your business, and if you find something suspicious like this, maybe,
Mm.
I don't know, don't do what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, so the autobiography Verity wrote, she titled it "So Be It," and like at the end when she's like, and if something along the lines of like, if I have to drive my car into a fucking tree, then so be it. And I was like, oh, she said the words, she said it,
She
she said the
did.
title.
She did. And then Jeremy drove it into the tree for her.
That's right, he did it for her. He
Couldn't
took that
even
upon
come up with
himself.
that idea by himself.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Jeremy
so
just learned
apparently
how
when
to
Jeremy
stand
found it,
today.
right. But okay, so but when Jeremy found the manuscript before he drove her into a tree, it wasn't finished. But like she kept writing it as she went on, and when Lowen showed it to him again, he read the part about Harper, and then yeah, okay. And also, I wanted to say Harper's death scene was really fucking hard to listen to. Like I couldn't listen to it all the way through. Like I had to
It
keep
was
pausing it
really
because that was
sad.
disgusting. Like it made me feel icky inside. Just like
She
listening to her not
drowned.
do anything when she could have done something. When
In the
she,
manuscript?
yes, yeah, in
Yeah, I
the
was like, oh
manuscript.
my god. For a second, I was like, oh my god. Like, she's absolutely horrible. Like, just letting her kid drown. But then, like, you find out that it genuinely was an accident. Like, she didn't know. So
Yes.
Harper could swim, and she didn't know that there was fishing line tangled up under there, and it was actually just an accident. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. No, the end of the book when Lowen was reading the letter that Verity wrote, I was like, "Oh my God." Like it just put it drew it all together and
Yes, I like that she
I don't know
used the
it.
antagonistic journaling to help process her kid's death, though. So I know that it was, like, absolutely brutal to read, and, like, you're thinking that this woman is just the worst person on earth. But, when in the letter that she wrote, she was like, I started out as just a journaling exercise, but it did help process the trauma of losing our children. And because what she was writing down was just so much worse than her real life. So it was an escape for her. She's like, if I could create something that was worse than what I was living, I didn't mind, closing my book
Mm,
and leaving the office and continuing on. And I was like,
yeah.
no, that's very valid, and
Hmm.
um, was an interesting way to kind of cope with that, to make a world that was so much worse
Yeah.
when you have experienced the unimaginable.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And when you mentioned postpartum depression, that too, especially. Also, because she had crew when the other two girls were still alive. And so even that added on to it as well.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Which is not, like, man, people get really up in arms when, like, women don't want kids, or women that do struggle with postpartum and have a hard time with that bond. They're made to feel like absolute monsters when it's a thing that happens and it's not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but of course, Lowen has never heard of that.
Right.
Of course, in the manuscript, it is taken to the extreme because she, like, hates her kids in the manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
But it did make me think about postpartum and stuff like that. I was like, no, that things like that do happen, and it's not really their fault.
Question for you. What did you think about? Okay, so at the beginning of the letter that she found in the floorboard, she was like, by now I would have, I would have taken crew and been off somewhere. So if they had not killed Verity, she would have ran off with crew. What did you think about that?
I'm torn because I think that can be risky for Crew.
Mm-hmm.
He's already experienced a lot of trauma, and sometimes I think adults tend to make very rash decisions without thinking about how the child feels or what the kid wants.
Agree with that.
So that's really sticky. Um, I'm not a mother, but I can imagine that, she's trying to, that's her baby, and she's trying to protect her baby.
Mm-hmm.
But Jeremy's not necessarily a bad father. So, but at the same time, he is, because he's literally trying to kill her. So, I, that's a tough one. For her
Mm-hmm.
safety, I can understand why she's trying to escape. And it is her money, so, and it is also her child. She did give birth to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I see, yes, I'd be like, yeah, girl, take him and run, because also I hate Lowen.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it makes me a little nervous because, like, that kid has gone through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But if Jeremy wasn't trying to kill her, you know,
Yeah.
I get that he thinks, like, genuinely that she killed his kids, but he's also really stupid. And it
Mm-hmm.
bothers me so much that he just will not ask her what it is. Like, he won't hear her out. He clearly doesn't pay attention to any of her writing processes. Like, he doesn't understand her at all, and that is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I get running off with your kid. How do you feel about it?
So when I finished the book, I was like freshly just finished the book. I was like, that was awfully toxic. I was like, at that point, I was worried for Crew. If she had to run off with him, I was like, what is she gonna do to that guy? Like, but I don't know. I feel like she did love Crew. He was the only one who knew that she wasn't actually in a coma.
Yeah.
She would talk to him, and he knew. And I felt like they did have a bond because she felt safe enough with him to, you know, still talk to him, obviously, and not be fucking comatose like a freak. Um, but at that point, I still believed in the manuscript because I had to think about it after for like a little bit because this book really threw me for a loop. But I think Jeremy, I think Jeremy was a good dad. I mean,
He's not a bad dad, but he is a bad person. They're all
okay,
bad
there it
people, though.
is.
Um, and If he's trying to kill her, like, I just can't get past the fact that he's just too stupid to figure out his wife. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a problem. And also, he didn't at all grieve with his wife. It was only about his grief.
That's true.
He
Yeah, he never
only
once
cares
checked up on
about
her.
himself. And he only
Yeah.
cares about the kids and himself. Like, he
Yeah.
does not give a shit about his wife.
Right. And so I feel, and that's what makes me think
So I
Verity's
think she should
feelings were
run off
kind
with
of
Crew.
justified. They were justified because he never once checked up on her. He really did only care about the kids, and then after the daughters died, his grief.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. She should run off with Crew. I don't care. I don't like Jeremy.
Yeah.
That kid needs a lot of therapy.
Which they do put him in
They
therapy, and I
do. And I was like,
appreciate
good,
that
'cause
he puts him in therapy.
he is messed up now.
Yeah, no, that poor kid. But I definitely think I don't know, having a stepmom is so weird. Or like having a step parent, especially, even I can't, in a situation like Cruz, where like he knew his mom, and she was just taken away, and then like Lowen is just now his stepmom. She's like just this woman who just came to live in his house for a couple weeks to write it. Yeah. And I didn't like how Lowen was taking up kind of like a motherly figure with him, like trying to act like a mom to him. And I'm like, relax, honey. Like it's not your place. And it wasn't her place when she was like talking to Crew, like crying about Verity, like, does your mom talk to you and stuff like that? Or something like, and she was like trying to talk to him about like the boat and like, did your mom like tip the boat over on purpose or something like that? Like that, excuse me. And I was like, who are you to be talking to him about this stuff? Like, that's his personal trauma. And like, you just found out about it over a fucking manuscript. And it was not her place to try to bring that up with him.
Yeah. No, I agree. Lowen needs to stay in her damn lane.
Yeah.
I don't like her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like any of these characters.
Yeah, no, ultimately I was let down by Lowen because I thought she had like a crumb, a morsel of like common sense of like maybe I should show him this letter because that was a game changer, but like whatever.
I thought the background on her mom ended up being weird because it never went anywhere. I thought we would get like more information, or I thought that would come into play later on, but because she just makes some weird statements about her mom that to me seems like, oh, that's going to be important later on, and it never is. And I was like,
you're right, yeah, no, that's what I thought too.
Unnecessary backstory then.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't need to be that way. Okay. Cool. That felt clunky. So.
Yeah.
Anyway. I think that is, sorry, such a yawn. Great introductory thriller. Has some plot holes for me. Hated the sex in it. Did not need to be there.
I didn't like the sex.
Didn't like the characters. So, it gets a no from me, but if you like it, you like it. If you want to dip your toe into a thriller, go for it. It's got some perks to it, whatever floats your boat.
It gets a yes from me.
So we are split on this one, but I'm glad that I tried it out.
Yes.
It's not the worst thing I've read. So
no, that's for sure.
It's not the worst thing I've read. But yeah, okay. So we will move on to something else. We'll brainstorm that one. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. We will see you guys later.
Bye.
Farewell.